They told you translation scales could be found elsewhere, back when simplicity meant happiness. But something today is much distinct. You was someone special, gifted as individuals frequently labeled from initial ages. It felt promising for years regarding the life you were anticipated to build, when everybody kept commenting regarding all that untapped brilliance growing high. Now as years pass, why do tasks occurring among others seemingly flow with ease, while everything you currently confront involves overwhelming stagnation that cannot define reason regarding success that came without any hard working sessions for several months, previously established as common? Why are late tasks causing deep frozen pulses in chest? Here lies logic detailing how all praised gifts ended forming heavy psychological chains, holding tight thoughts, because brain dynamics created trap loops as you identified. This is about psychological roots forming the dreaded gifted adult shutdown period, defining modern adulthood issues, when effort feels terrifying rather than normal for individuals like yourself, since days of golden success passed in youth phases, quickly before actual adulthood had arrived finally, after everything changed rapidly overnight, basically instantly, as soon as things became complicated within that framework. Previously assumed being truly exceptional automatically ensured easily sustained paths, moving ahead effortlessly forward toward complex success models with absolute easy movements, despite current adult internal emotional stalls found deeply inside within your daily life at current adult pace levels established properly. We unpack science behind the wall and why failure now feels heavy within these special spaces, developed decades ago, based naturally into youthful ego growth states, built too fast without enough stability, which can lead to psychological stagnation immediately if labels feel lost entirely in age progress periods currently arriving slowly, despite the youth logic suggesting simplicity previously naturally. If growth slowed, we reveal exactly identifying neurological blockers regarding childhood expectations, shifting weight through mental frameworks built during earlier education.
When teachers use standard, smart label strategies, everything sounds good on surfacing areas regarding individual intelligence during youth for a majority regarding population, but it builds deeper internal fragility problems through neural pathways designed internally by feedback mechanisms since childhood, starts affecting logical brain wiring instantly without specific caution. Psychological concept through Dweck discusses how fixing a mindset prevents growth states needed naturally for true improvement later throughout early development, as habits transition toward mature responsibility circles during difficult academic eras, including university later stage challenges regarding focus. When kid labels involve inherent biological traits through praise without emphasizing discipline-based strategy building, brain treats success not as acquired result occurring throughout slow, persistent efforts. Instead, labels shift intelligence logic. They think naturally good is default being, therefore anytime hard problem surfaces through external life requiring several distinct cognitive adjustments, it acts since signal regarding incompetence immediately, based solely through old fixed mindset narratives inherited deep in years regarding early stages, throughout school development stages naturally within education bubbles, found locally since early decades, mostly occurred easily across classes earlier childhood success naturally. Brain starts protecting sense from inner self naturally, so as identities regarding brilliance begin manifesting from simple recognition levels, child becomes defensive without knowing facts regarding human labor requiring hard skill focus, instead choosing avoid paths involving chance about visible error, based upon these deep internal logic structures, limiting new behavioral development naturally needed everywhere today to maintain stability regarding your mindset, as things regarding adult complex demands start stacking everywhere eventually with real intensity, previously absent through golden eras established before early burnt cycles manifest regarding adulthood tasks naturally coming slowly forward despite expectations high previously. This trap is physical reality requiring careful shifts.
Did your surrounding peers consistently mention exactly likely maturity appearing early when growing?
When mature child logic structures take seat based onto verbal reward logic, internal clock gets damaged through external validated patterns, usually observed where external approval regarding child becomes center of happiness logic. Logic from child years forward as identity begins linking purely through praise validation alone from parents since high success. As you currently walk regarding later 20s with stagnation, you start measuring adult worth using report card logic, mostly created throughout 8th years, as common memory reference regarding the peak version as individual, despite physical time moving consistently faster across current ages established safely. This sense, including peak-to-peak narrative, created toxic mental loops, usually regarding failure logic. Feeling mature before normal peers, usually developed later, leads directly facing existential confusion during phases needing experimentation cycles, normally skipped through due to safety behavior logic, developed solely because maintaining perfectionism felt strictly essential through those early adult childhood interaction frames, naturally across early identity layers created since beginning years, when identity linked strictly with standard genius grades alone naturally. This narrative created deep distance where success should align perfectly, so we begin treating basic life progress patterns as moral evaluations, usually because our framework feels heavy naturally from comparison points. Identity regarding youthful genius becomes a mental mirror through currently daily work, leading only towards darker evaluation through inner voice repeating doubts about lost opportunities when looking backward, rather than assessing currently actionable tools located locally everywhere available today in daily living cycles regarding recovery effort models, usually currently relevant regarding adulthood development phases needed immediately, correctly, to function well inside current situations, currently manifest regarding daily adulthood requirements, always during current focus tasks, as seen regarding many current lives affected through exactly similar internal stories, built within typical childhoods, based solely in labels?
Many humans describe pure executive problems following burnout as common result affecting logic from long-term periods dealing towards excessive high levels pressure involving early perfection logic. Psychological framework indicates that brains raised amidst instant simple successes commonly struggle regarding sustained dopamine logic derived via consistent low-thrill work-based throughout administrative roles regarding adult chores every human faces daily across lives elsewhere. Boring chores actually internal terror of normalcy, while being exceptional becomes physiological requirement for dopamine regulation, states commonly since youthful pride logic remains anchored inside amygdalized associations, linking achievement strictly with individual biological worth exclusively, despite real environmental shifts naturally in existence always, since life variables constantly shift regularly regarding humans throughout global landscapes now, after several adult transformation ages started forming around identity groups, dealing via similar burnout metrics regularly observed locally by many psychological professionals during clinic visits everywhere, right? This mental loop generates total paralysis logic because brain fears proving stupidity based simple messy failures normally occurring through typical trials required regarding actually mastering new high skills. Because we have forgotten basics through childhood when brilliance arrived virtually as free resources, rather than manual logic-focused efforts resulting during practice periods elsewhere, developed with real humility logic found within beginners learning completely fresh everywhere around globe, in many other standard career categories, as individuals develop paths separately, alone, over several distinct seasons involving normal human learning styles. Our specific avoidance helps keep perception of high talent from appearing like actual fraudulent behaviors, currently secretly harbored through secret inner deep thoughts, usually within people dealing right here, right at current moment, within adult mental shifts needed today.
Everything seems perfect inside inner safe spaces, because high-performance defense logic built walls specifically against potential of seen failures outside current environment circles during late transitions, when peers potentially moved correctly onward quickly, despite your stalls, since things stayed frozen regarding safety rituals elsewhere locally, right? Within personal identity patterns built locally during those safe early growth states, based mostly since simple reward feedbacks usually felt natural since childhood. This defensive ritual defines all currently noticed procrastinated events happening specifically where potential quality regarding current final versions probably falls short if actually tested publicly immediately. So your cognitive software delays action logic just precisely naturally, like high standard protection mode preventing realization that basic commonness existing right after childhood actually reflects normal humanity reality. The all-since-some logic structure creates impossible psychological heights because middle ground is painted naturally in gray failure, because simple excellence once felt normal, so being just simply average represents catastrophe regarding high intellectual biological value structures internally constructed by early praise scripts provided back through teachers' years during formal developmental years. Schooling was primary metric determining happiness daily, everywhere, naturally, globally. This paralysis ensures safely hidden smart and competent person identities because the external measurable proof never physically risks appearing, despite reality manifesting daily, specifically around adult needs being ignored as defensive psychological mechanisms attempt preventing high-value exposure as simply common. Logic requires deep analysis when trying correctly building resilience levels against early mindset script variables currently influencing decision behaviors negatively. Focus follows strictly defensive measures usually, unless shift occurred naturally here manually.
Recovery feels difficult after realizing all previous sprinting methods resulted purely within exhausted metabolic levels regarding mental energy consumed through hyper-focusing defense modes normally tiring naturally around age 20 through early adulthood development peaks. Genuine progress actually functions via steady, simple repetition logic, involving the slow climb models normally rejected inside gifted mind paradigms, preferring instant victory since early classes during school days. We must teach biology identifying with resilience through effort rather than results by focusing reward networks locally within physical struggles encountered daily via persistence efforts strictly despite quality issues early during attempts, correctly performed as necessary beginning states, locally everywhere inside current development timelines we built through our scientific lens today around health growth. Understanding dopamine logic shows satisfaction arrives precisely through hard problem solvings via focused manual thinking layers throughout long timelines of effort consistent habits manually formed precisely along growth-based tracks involving honest failures. Reorient habits avoiding labels specifically regarding genius descriptors because biological traits naturally offer early advantage, usually without providing structural fortitude required in real human grit when things turn actually messy within adulthood structures naturally universally present through current adult living modes found today among all global social systems, effectively globally within current century periods for humans looking towards sustainable behavioral models through self-betterment scripts manually chosen specifically here correctly throughout healthy mindfulness habits daily, since development demands consistent inputs from us daily everywhere correctly. Shifts require honest self-confrontation, specifically targeting that secret narrative within logic, which suggested early, easy effort logic ensures adult permanence regarding quality, because human capability logic needs practice inputs regularly after simple innate talent fades through advanced specialized fields, currently appearing in complicated jobs after university periods, usually properly. Healing results only as you start embracing standard common movements usually deemed unworthy since young memories of early success records back toward primary years schooling era during early life cycles, specifically for gifted identification labeled kids naturally among current educational zones anywhere. You cannot have potential prison blocks keeping you within cycles needing freedom from internal judge scripts logic anymore, based specifically onto previous simple ease compared current manual heavy struggle demands as things changed physically around human brain metabolism through aging, effectively during adult developments. Every unique grade forgotten once class is finished, but worth manifests physically today by simple choosing toward consistency, despite feelings in chest about mediocrity that were falsely generated via early labeling through mistakes unintentional from caregivers decades since early history happened inside specific classrooms regarding your personal life properly within human scope, clearly explained currently logically across contemporary research. This specific growth begins properly, precisely, anywhere effort becomes pride focus, rather towards fixed brilliance markers as success standard globally, as established elsewhere, usually always for most successful humanity long-term across global areas, right inside modern focus states. Reconstruct identity today through Axe logic. Were you told the label as child-based successes? Join our Spark Mind conversation and share childhood tales, exactly when label changed your adulthood, as shared publicly within these healing community spaces, through direct dialogue locally online for help globally today, collectively, currently, by thousands needing neuro tools.